you'll get a little pop-up. So today we're going to talk about Google Drive, Google Docs, and how you can use them with Zoom and Sakai. I'm going to talk about just the basics of the two tools. I'm more interested in talking about how and why you might choose to use them in your remote course for, say, taking shared notes when you're on a Zoom meeting, or for receiving assignments from your students as a Google Doc or something like that. But if you guys have ways that you're thinking about using them, those would be good examples for us to talk about as well. So with that, let me share a different screen, and we can look at Google Docs and Drive together. I often start, like, how do I get to Google Drive or Google Docs? I usually start from my email, and I use this little apps tray to go to Google Drive or Google Docs or whatever Google tool I'm using. But if you don't know which one to choose, let me just explain a little bit. Drive is a location where files that you own are stored, where files that other people have shared with you are stored, and where you have shared drives with your colleagues. So it might be for a committee you're on, or a department you're in, or your campus. All of those things are in Drive. And the things that might be in Drive might include Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Forms, but it might also include things that aren't Google tools. Like you can store PDFs and JPEGs and text files and videos and whatever you want. Google Drive doesn't care what file type you're putting in it. It's just a container and an organizer for holding your files in the cloud so that you could get to them from multiple devices. You could get to them from your phone, you could get to them from your iPad, you could get to them from your desktop, and you don't have to have a copy of all the files on each of your devices, or if you log in from someone else's device and you need access. So when you go to Google Drive, you're basically coming to this giant container which stores all sorts of things. What's here is the documents that I own. You see the owner column here, and the documents that other people own and have shared with me as an individual. And those are, you see what's highlighted is my drive. Okay. Shared drives are drives or locations that are owned by other people, or owned not by an individual person, but by a team. So you'll see, I was on a search committee. I, Bonnie Powers, am not the owner of these search committee documents, and my boss isn't the owner of the search committee documents. We own them as a team. Every member that has been assigned the privilege of being on this shared drive is partial owner of those files. So if I leave the institution, those files stay there because they're not owned by me personally, individually. They're owned by that team or that department. So we have a collaborative folder where academic technology and informational technology collaborate on things. And you'll see there's 8 people as a part of this shared drive. I can click and see who they are. And people can have different roles in a shared drive or on any individual document. Some people are content managers, and some people are shared drive managers. And content managers can edit and delete content, but they can't add users to the group, and they can't manage user permissions. Only the regular manager can do that. And there are other roles where people can just be a contributor or a viewer where they're not allowed to delete. So in this case, when I look at these files in a shared drive, you'll see there is no owner column. That means no individual owns these documents. We all have a certain amount of privileges to these shared documents. but we can all find them when we need them. So back in my drive, you can create folders, you can create files, you can nest items, and you can share each individual document with whoever you like by just right-clicking it and going to the share feature. Now this has changed recently, so it might look a little unfamiliar if you've seen it before. These are your sharing restriction settings. And by default, it's owned by you, and anyone on the, in this case, anyone on the internet can get to this if they have the link. Meaning if I emailed them the link, or if I put it on a web page or something like that. But you can change this. By default, no one else has access to anything when you create it in here. You can change who has access, meaning anyone at Antioch with the link, or no one except for the individuals that you give access to, or anyone in the world with the link. When we talk about hosting stuff for your classes that you're sharing with your classes, often students aren't logged in. So if you want them to have to be logged into Google, and they have to be for Antioch purposes, you can just share your materials with anyone at antioch.edu with the link. You don't have to share it with anyone with the link, but if you want it to be more open, or if students have expressed trouble clicking on things, you might want to open it up to anyone with the link. Now, when you do that, you'll see they can only view it unless you change the permissions to make them an editor or a commenter. And I always just make people a viewer. If I want someone to be able to edit something, I name them individually up at the top. So, are there any questions about Google Drive, what it is, shared drive, what you can store there, those sorts of things? Go ahead, Shira, and then Angela.
Bonnie, can we store a movie, a little movie, like about a 50-minute long movie that we want a student to watch outside of class, store it on Google Drives for them, or should we store that somewhere else in Sakai?
So that's a great question. You can store it in Google Drive. You should not store any video at all in Sakai. Sakai is not a strong streaming server, so the server will probably hang when it's uploading and may fail. And when it's trying to be delivered to students and they're trying to watch it, it's very slow because it's not a streaming server. And a streaming server is much more high powered, meant for delivering video. So I recommend sharing it on YouTube, or because that's a really powerful, specifically for streaming, and you can have captions. Or if it's more convenient, you can store it in Google Drive and share it via Google Drive. But typically you can't edit a video, you can't add captions. All you can do is put it in there and share it and have them watch it. I think YouTube is more reliable. Angela?
So quickly, you know, the pop-up that you showed, like when you highlighted a sample image JPEG,
Yep.
then when you did that, then you had those options of sharing with specific people that you said to name them. Could you just clarify, share with people in groups? So when you add that, you're adding their link or just their name?
Up here, you need their email address. So up here in the top half is where you share with specific people. Like if, let's say my example later will be, I have a class of 20 students and I want to put them in breakout groups and have them record their notes from their breakout groups on a shared document. So I could do one of two things. I could add each individual student's name here and make them an editor. Or for the duration of my class, I could change this so that anyone with the link was an editor, because the only people I'm going to give the link to are the people in my class.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's a quick way to do it if you're doing it on the fly and need to hurry. And then after class, when they finish their edits, I would come and turn that off. I would just make everybody a viewer after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, there are 2 levels of permissions. There's the individual's permission and the group permissions, and you can use both in combination. Doesn't have to be one or the other. Okay. So Google Docs, can everybody know, if you can, raise your hand if you've used Google Docs before, if you've ever created a Google Doc or someone shared with you. Okay. A Google document is just like a Word document or a Mac Pages document. It's just that it lives in the cloud. Excellent. I see everybody who used their reaction button because I'm sharing my screen and you can't get to your other one. It's just a word processing document that's stored in the cloud so that you can share it with other people or share it among all of your devices. And similarly, Google has Google Sheets, which is a spreadsheet. So it's like a Microsoft Excel document that lives in the cloud that you can share with others or not, maintain from all your different devices. Google Slides is for creating slideshows. So it's like PowerPoint or like Presenter, I think they have on a Mac. And you can do interactive forms as well with Google. And of course, as you know, Google has many, many other tools. So you'll see in my document here, this, because it's purple. Oh, it just went away. I had a purple form in here. And I have a yellow slideshow presentation, which is in my drive. So you can make it look like whatever you want. I have, this is the icon for Google Sites. This is a website I created in Google for our employees at AUNE. This is a Google Doc. These are, this one's a Google Sheet, but you see this one has the .xlsx on it. That's an Excel spreadsheet. So you'll see Google Docs, Google Drive can manage both its own types of documents and sheets, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Docs, but it can also hold Excel files, Word documents, and things like that. You do not have to convert your Word document to be a Google document in order to store it in your drive. You can just put it in there and leave it there and share it with other people as a Word document. You can even open it up in Google Drive and edit it, and it stays a Word document. That's a new feature in the last few months that Google's added. So, does anybody want to, Shirley, you have a question?
No, that hand was up earlier to say that I've used Google Doc before.
Okay, no worries.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If I upload a Word document into Google Drive and then I share it, can other people edit it since it's not a PDF?
You have control over that. If you make them a viewer, they can only view it. If you make them a commenter, they can add comments, but they can't actually edit the document. And if you make them an editor, they can edit it. But you
Okay.
are the owner, and so no one can delete it except for the owner.
Okay, can you say a little bit more about the comments aspect? I mean, what would they see? Would they see the document and then is it like, you know, I'm forgetting the name.
Track changes.
Yeah.
What
When you're
it
doing that.
allows them to do and I'm the owner, so I can't be a commenter, but it allows them to pull up a comment box and put a comment on this sheet over here in this column and ask a question or make a referral. It says, oh, it looks like you spelled this wrong. Or so they can view the whole thing, and then there'll be comments over here in the sidebar that you can
Okay.
accept or decline or respond to or however you want, but they can't actually change the document.
Okay, thank you.
Same with Google Sheets and Google Slides. They all have the same types of permissions. Angela, you have another question? You have to unmute.
So you mentioned that if you, in the Google Drive, you open your Word document and you're able to directly edit it and change it. I'm wondering if you can just walk that through, because I've done it, but I don't know if I did it right. And does it everything you do, does it automatically save?
Yes. So I would say maybe about every 10 seconds, if you're looking, you will get so I'm looking for one with a word. I'm going to drag one over from my desktop. So hang on one sec. All right. I just dragged, here's a Word document from my desktop. I'm dragging it into my drive.
Wow.
And it's starting to upload. You can do a whole folder. Okay. And now I'm going to sort by last modified. Hopefully that means it'll come up to the top. But you'll see it has a blue W, here it is, instead of the blue with the white lines. So this is a Google Doc. This is a Word doc. Now, when I just double click it, it opens in the preview mode. If you want to edit it, you have to right click it and open with Google Docs. That will allow you to edit it. And if you have left the file extension .doc or .docx on the graphic, on the file, it'll appear up here. You see, this is a Word document still. And my graphics are still loading. It's kind of a heavy. But as an editor, I can come in and make as many edits as I want. And I can change the font size, do all the same things. I can make it a subtitle, you know, all the same things you can do in Word. And you see right here, all changes saved in Drive. That is how you confirm that any change you have made will save. And it'll go away for a few seconds and it'll come back after it saves it again if I make any more. So it's sort of saving as I type it or as I change it.
Excuse me, Bonnie, may I ask a question?
Please.
Okay, it's really good what you just showed us. This is the steps that happened to me. You know, when you go back and you said upload, and on the bottom right it had an upload. Okay, that image. Okay, that's what happens to me. Then I double click underneath that on the W. Yep. So I double click that. I open it up, and then see how it says in the middle, open with. Then I go to Google Docs, and if I share it with someone, let's say I'm sharing it with Bonnie Powers, and then tomorrow and then we're collaborating, then tomorrow when I go back, if I go to the Word, you're not there. You're only in when I have to go through that whole order. So am I not opening it up properly? Because that's the part I'm afraid of. I can do it in my own work, but when I collaborate, it doesn't seem to save.
You mean the edits that someone else makes won't save?
Right. Like me and that person will be in it. When I go down and I see the upload, I open it up. It says open with Google Docs. And then, yeah, that's me with the daisy.
Okay, I'm making you an editor.
Okay.
So there should be, last edit was 2 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see here the edits I made on the other document.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's happening, it is a problem. There could be a problem with your account because that's not the right function that Google wants to allow to happen.
Okay.
So here's the issue though, if it was an attachment that you clicked in an email and it opened in the preview window, that's different. Because when you open an attachment, that's a copy that's living in your email versus the copy that you copied to your drive. So if I close both of these and
I'm in it right now in your
Yep.
radical candor.
Yep.
But when you send it to me, sorry to interrupt, it's a W. It says .docx. It
Yep.
doesn't. Oh, okay.
It stays a Word document now. In a month ago or 2 months ago, when you opened a Word document in Google Docs and edited it, it changed it to a Google Doc. Then you had 2 copies, the original Word and the Google Doc. But as of a couple of months ago, this functionality is it allows Google Docs to edit a Word document and not duplicate it first.
Okay.
So if that's an old problem, I suspect it was from an earlier version before they upgraded it.
Okay.
But now you should be able to see those edits and maintain those forever and a day.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's great to know.
Okay. So my example earlier was, let's say we're in this meeting and I want to break you guys up into breakout rooms and I want you each to answer a question. One of you is going to talk about typography in your design layout. One of you is going to talk about layout, and one of you is going to talk about accessibility. And I want to capture all the notes that you talk about in your different groups so that the whole class has access to all of the notes. What I would do is we go in my Google Drive ahead of time from class, and I would create a new Google Doc, and I would say class notes on graphic design. And I would say accessibility group notes, typography group notes, and layout group notes. Now, you might have group 1, group 2, group 3, they might all be answering the same questions. That would be fine too. You just set up your notes document in advance. Make sure it has title. You know, we're not so much caring about the layout, although we would in a layout class. We'll call that heading 2. And then for the sake of this class, to make it quick and easy, I'd go in and share. I have to name it and save it first. And then I'd do a quick down and dirty change it to anyone with the link can edit. And I would copy this link and I would say done. And I would say, okay, everybody, I'm putting the link in the chat. I want everybody to go highlight it and copy it. And then I'm going to break you out into breakout rooms. And one person in each room should share their screen and open this document and keep notes about what you talk about in your group meeting. They'll automatically save as people are typing, so you're not going to worry about, you know, it not saving or getting lost. Google can handle multiple people editing a document at once. Be clear about where you want them to put your notes. I've created 3 sections. Can this group put their notes here? Can this group put their notes there? And then at the end of the meeting, do you guys want to actually try that, or you get the concept? Yes, yes, breakout room, and you guys actually try it? All right. So just to show you, We're going to practice breakout rooms. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. So try to get a couple of things on your notes. I don't care what they say. Angela, do you need a question before we go to breakout rooms?
After.
After.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would put us in breakout rooms. I want 3 breakout rooms. I'm going to automatically assign you all. And I'm going to close the breakout rooms I'll give you 4 minutes. And you'll get a 60-second timer when it's time to come back. If you have any problems, use the ask for help button. That'll call me into your room and I will come help you. Has everybody highlighted and copied that link?
No.
Okay, everybody open the chat. I'll stop sharing. And also, I think it should be in the chat when you go into your breakout room, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen before I open the rooms so that you have a minute to go into your chat and copy that link. All right, stop sharing.
Bonnie, I don't see the chat in my link. This is, or link in my chat. This is Shirley.
Oh, I'm sorry. It went just to Terry because Terry was the last person who emailed me. There you go. Does everybody see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so get in your groups. Have one person share and take notes. If you have time, you can stop and let someone else share and take notes just for practice. And I will jump into your breakout rooms and make sure you're not having trouble, okay?
Okay.
Here you go. All right, we're all back from breakout rooms now, and I started recording again, so I don't know if you got the pop-up again, but we're back to recording. Sylvie, you had that question?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have 2 screens, it is very easy to open up, have Zoom on one screen and be opening up a web browser on a second screen. If you don't and you wanted to minimize Zoom, you could minimize Zoom and just continue to use the audio capability and then open a browser on your screen. Or you could move your windows so they were side by side so you could do both. It's a little hard on a small screen, but that allows people the opportunity to do it the way that works for them. So if you're really truly working as a team and taking one set of notes as a team, then you should see what your team scribe is writing on the notes for your whole team. And you can suggest, oh, can you make that an indented list? Don't forget this. I see a spelling mistake there. So one person is doing the typing if they're sharing the screen, but any of you, like I could leave this open. I'm going to leave this open for 24 hours so you all can contribute anything that might have gotten forgotten from your team notes. You can leave it open forever if you want. After 24 hours, I'm going to take away editing privileges just so that we can solidify and leave these notes still. I'll just let you be commenters at that point, and you can put comments on or whatever you need for your process. The same thing would be true if you were typing in data in a spreadsheet and you wanted everybody to add 3 names. You know, you can collaboratively make a Google sheet of data. You could create, if you had people working in groups, they could collaborate on a slideshow or any tool in the same way, in Zoom or not in Zoom. So as you saw it, everybody, when I was sharing my screen, you could just look at it, but we don't even have to be on Zoom to be doing this. It's just a way of making collaborative notes. Or let's say you had a template that you wanted them to follow for, or 3 questions you wanted them to answer in their group. If you give them those 3 questions in a document, it's easier to remember what you told them before you broke into breakout groups. Otherwise, you don't have a real way of helping them remember that. So, because you can't share your one screen with all 3 breakout groups or however many breakout groups you have. So that's a way of creating a document. Now, I did mention in one of the groups, they don't all have to be taking notes on the same document. You could have one document for each team that they could continue to work on, but then you could share them with the other groups if you wanted. It's up to you and how that process would work for the particular learning objective that you're trying to achieve. Now, Wendy, I see your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Yes. A few years ago, I was in a staff meeting at my school. This was a few years ago. And we were given a link and everybody went into, it was a Google something or other. And we all got to collaborate on that one document. And then every time we typed something in, our name would pop up briefly as well. Do you know what that was?
That was Google Docs as well. I'll share my screen. If anyone, Meg, I think you have it open, you wanted to type in, you'll see on this Google Doc, everybody who has it open on their computer, they may not be actively looking at that screen, has their little icon up here. And Meg has her name in her Google account as Anonymous Loris, but that's Meg typing as we speak. Okay, and you'll see someone's in here with the purple cursor. That looks like it's Angela, because her circle has a purple circle around it. And then if I were in here, it would make Catherine's typing in green. So we actually have a weekly meeting with my team, Katie and Jenny, and we make our agenda in a Google Doc, and every week we put the new agenda on top. And then if you think of something during the meeting that you want to add to the agenda, you just jump in there and you add it as a bullet at the bottom. And we can take notes in the agenda so that we remember what we said about that particular item.
So right now I cannot type in here, Angela.
How come?
I don't know.
Are
She's
you?
trying to type in she's trying to type in Zoom, not in
Oh, I have to share screen. Oh,
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen, and so it's on top of what you're doing. Let me stop. And now that's actually your screen that you can type on, because I was showing everybody that people can type. Now, yeah, and you don't have to share your screen to be able to type on it, but you can't be trying to type on my shared screen, because that's just a picture of what my monitor shows. It wasn't the actual document.
okay,
But
great.
the reason I could type into the document is I have the document open separately on a separate screen. So just to make clear, that's why.
Yeah, so if you can put your windows side by side, or if you can minimize Zoom and have your real web browser on top, you can type in at any time. Now I'm looking through. Wendy and Angela, do you guys have additional questions? I'm just putting people's hands down who don't have a question for the moment.
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, concretize what you're saying, is that when you put the link into the chat, we just click on the link and then we end up in Google, that Google document. We don't have to go copy it to anything.
No,
Okay.
my one question is whether the chat carries over when I put you in a breakout room. I think
It
that
did.
goes blank. It did? Okay.
Because I had to
It
retrieve
didn't used to, but I think in version 5 that they kept the public chat coming over into your breakout room so that you could do that. You could send it to them in advance. You know, you could send it out via email. When you actually share it, you have the opportunity when you share with individual names to send a note. So if I was going to share this with Meg, there's a available message to notify people, and you can say, this is for class on Monday, have this link available, you know, that sort of thing, and they'll have it in their email. So if you're prepared in advance, but as you saw, I did it on the fly and just pasted it in the chat because I decided in the moment that's what we were going to do, or how we were going to do it. I prefer not to do that and have the example set up in advance, but it is quick if you're comfortable doing it.
I had a second question from before, which was if I put into the chat a link to a document like a PDF, and I'm asking students to save it, do they just drag it onto their desktop, or do they have to open it up and then save it separately? What happens there?
There's two different ways. If everyone opens the chat right now, you will see there is a link in there, and that's a link to an online file. If they click on it, it will open in a browser, but it doesn't save it to their document. However, in the chat, there's also a button called File. I can upload a file from my computer, and then when you click on it, you download it. So I don't want to give you a photo. It'll just be too big. Let me go to my sample files. There we go. I want to pick something nice and small. I'm still selecting it. All right. So now in your chat, you should all see a Word document that I uploaded. If you click on it the first time, it'll download it. And then it'll change the things. Instead of saying download, it'll say open file or open in folder. And that's how you can actually have them download a file to their desktop. So it depends whether it's a link to something online or whether it's a file that you're uploading from your computer. There's a way to do either one of those things.
On my screen, it just says click to open. It doesn't give you a choice for what to do with it.
So first click to open it.
Okay.
And then does it give you two different choices? In the chat, if you're looking in the chat window again.
Oh, let's see, hold on. It just says no, it doesn't. Still says click to open, but it is now open.
Yeah, mine just opened up, Bonnie.
Okay. So they're changing versions of Zoom very quickly. A week ago, you'd click on it and it would download, and then it would say open in folder or open file. And you could choose to open the folder that the file downloaded to, or you could choose to open the file itself. Now it's working a little bit differently, but if you have, and you do have to make sure this is turned on in your global settings. This is not something that's on by default. It's called file sharing in chat.
Oh.
Okay. And I've instructed people in all my settings to go do it. So if you've done the Zoom settings, you may have gone back and done that. But if you don't have that file button, it may be because you don't have that setting turned on in your Zoom global settings on the website. So there's another way you can use this. And this is if you get sick of downloading your students' attachments in assignments, editing them with track changes, and then uploading them back to Sakai with the grade, you can ask them to create their Google document, to then, when they're ready to submit, copy the shared link and have them make you the owner of the file. That way they cannot delete it or change it. You can you would have to go in and make sure you're not sharing it with anyone else. Then you can go and add comments to their Google Doc or put things in there in a colored pen, or, however you want to do it. All they have to do then is copy the share link and paste it in the assignment in an inline text box and hit submit. And then that's one file, their original, they make you the owner. You go in, read it, you don't share it. You can make them a viewer only so that they can't change your comments or change anything. Or you can share a copy with them, or however you want to do it. You just have to make sure that they make you the owner. Go ahead, Meg.
Am I muted?
Nope.
So how I've been doing this, because I've been doing this a long time, I download all the Word files in one file folder when they submit a paper. I upload it to my Google Drive. I have a lot of space. I do whatever I'm going to do with the paper, comments, etc., grading, all of that stuff. By then, they're in the 4th iteration of the paper because the Virtual Writing Center does the drafts. And then I just share the link. I don't have to deal with any more uploading or downloading or anything. I just share the link with them. I own it because I uploaded it to my Google Drive, so they can't change anything. And they can read all my comments. And I think they can respond to the comments. As I recall, they can respond to the comments, but they can't change,
if you have the settings.
Right, exactly. It's really very versatile. I mean, I find it extremely intelligent way to interact about an academic comment.
It's really good if you have multiple versions. If they're working on the draft and then they're working on the main one that they're going to submit, then they're adding their bibliography, whatever it is. If there are a lot of versions and you want it submitted to you at different times, you can use that one file just as long as you end up being the owner somehow and not them.
Yeah,
Catherine?
I don't look at the drafts. So I just look at the final, and the final is the link that they have where they can read all my comments and my grades and my narratives and all of that jazz. So what I'm trying to say is that they don't have to do anything. Right. I upload a file folder with all of their papers, and actually, surprisingly, the Sakai is really good at this. They're very good at downloading all of the final papers in one file folder.
Yes, so they're submitting it as a document and you're uploading it for them. And the other natural corollary is they don't even have to submit it as an attachment that you download and then upload.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's so easy.
Give you the link. Yeah, they can just give you the link and make you the owner, and then it's yours.
Well, no, I don't even have to. I don't do that because they are really not tech savvy. I mean, most of the students are not. But what I do, and what Sakai does for me is what I'm trying to explain is that when they're this is the final paper. So just that, there's a way to download all those papers in one file folder. I don't open that on my computer. I upload it to Google Drive, that file folder, and all the students' papers populate. Then I click into the students' papers and make my comments and do all that jazz. And then I just give them the link. I never have to deal with that particular document as a document other than in Google Docs. It's kind of cool.
Right, because you download it and then you put it up there.
Right, but they do it all so that 25 people.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to do any work. It takes 20 minutes or so, but it doesn't matter. I mean, still, it's a time-consuming part of comments and changes. I don't have to deal with that. So that's what I use Google Docs for most of all.
Okay, Catherine?
Well, the question I have, I like what you were just saying, but let's say I do that and I have, okay, so Bonnie Power sends me something and I upload and it goes into Sakai, but I mean, can't anybody then in the world, what if somebody Googles Bonnie Powers is on Google search, is that going to bring in her paper with my comments?
No, when you put it up by default, you are the owner and no one else has any permissions. You would have to give a specific user permission to see it even.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Even though it's Google and I'm on Google, they're on Google. No, all this interaction that we're doing is locked. So I don't accidentally release the students, draft, which is not very good. let's
They
say.
could share their link. If they wanted to make it public, they could share their link. Like I'm not sending them comments. I'm not sending them papers. I'm not sending them documents. I'm sending them a link, period. So if they wanted to show, hey mom, look, this teacher thinks I'm the greatest thing. They could share that link with their mother, and their mother could get in and see the paper, but that's true in paper. So I'm not worried about it. But what's in a Google Drive is not in the public domain. It's yours.
It's ours. Okay.
Yeah.
It's yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should just check the sharing settings to make sure it is shared or not shared the way you intended.
Okay. And then one other quick thing I was going to say is, so we've all been together and we've been chatting, but if someone joined us right now, what I found in our residency, we're in urban sustainability, and last week was 2 weeks ago was our residency.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just like this, and we had a link in chat, and then a couple of students came late, and they don't, even though that link is in chat, they didn't get it. So we all went into breakout rooms, and then they didn't have the link. So like, you know, even it does history for me because I've seen your original, but not for new people.
No, your chat, each individual has a separate chat file, and it begins when they come in the room.
Wow.
And that is to prevent, so it's a privacy protection thing. So, because if let's say someone dropped in here and you didn't mean for them to be in this room, but they got in and then 2 minutes later I kicked them out. If they had access to all of our previous chat, that would be sort of a privacy issue. Their chat. So you know nothing about what happened in a Zoom meeting, no history until you come into it. So yes, that's why I put the link in the chat just before you go into breakout rooms, to catch anybody who may have come in just, you know, ahead of time. And the other thing is, if you're in groups, then at least one other person in the group will have the link, and they can reshare it in the chat there too. But yes, that is an interesting thing to know about Zoom. The history of what you've put in there does not appear to anyone who joins late. So Wendy has a question.
So from Meg's system seems great. What about if does it work when you're doing an drafts? Like if as the instructor, I want to do some editing and send it back for, you know, a student to redo. Does it work the same?
Yes. And so the one thing that I would do differently than what Meg does, Meg has them submit, upload an attachment, meaning they can do it in Word, they can do it in Slideshow, they can do it in Mac Pages. When they submit their assignment, they attach a file, and Meg gets all the files. And then Meg has to do the work of uploading them and making sure the permissions are correct on each file. But what I'm recommending is that the student creates the document in Google, and you instruct them. We have instructions on how to make you, their instructor, the owner, and they continue to be an editor. And then all they do is they copy that sharing link, and that's what they submit in their assignment, is not an attachment, because then you just click on that link and you open it. You're the owner, they're an editor, and you can go back and forth for as many times as you want with them, and then they can make edits, and you could make suggestions, and they could make edits, and you could make suggestions. And at the final, if you ever wanted to go that far, you could just change their settings from them being an editor to them being a viewer. And that's because you want to maintain, this is the actual document that I graded, and that's where their editing gets to stop. When you give your final feedback, you make them just a viewer. They can still view it, they can still print it, they can download a copy of it to keep for their desktop, but you didn't have to do uploads. All you had to do was go to the link and change the sharing permissions to when the final done is done. And you don't have any upload or download time sort of thing.
They would know I'm doing it at 3 a.m. in the morning or 11 a.m. Like when I'm on, is it live? Do they know when I'm commenting?
If they were on looking at it at the same time too, yes.
Okay.
There is a history. You can look at version history for a document, and it'll say edits were made at this time by this time. And you can go back and look at those. It won't show every single little edit, but it'll be like accumulation of edits until 317 when you stopped editing, and then it creates a backup of it, a version of it, and saves it. You can always go back to that version, so that if the student did change something when they weren't supposed to, in the version history, you could see that. Or, but you can't, I don't think you can hide, I'm not sure you can hide that version. Only editors can see the version history. If you're just a commenter, you can't turn back to a version history.
Well, one of my favorite things is that usually if it's the papers due, let's say midnight on a Sunday night, because remember, I teach 100% online. I usually download it the next morning. So if anybody was a couple hours late, nobody knows that they got the extra hours, and I don't care. But somebody who were to submit the next day, I won't even see that paper because I have downloaded. What I like about Sakai, and it's unusual to like something, but I really want to say this, is the file that they download is just one file folder with all of the papers in it. So I have that kind of confidence that I have gotten all the students' papers when they were supposed to submit it, and then trying to teach. For me, you guys maybe have a whole different thing going, but I can't seem to teach my students anything technical. I'm either really bad at it, or they're bad at it, or somebody's bad at it, but I can't do it. I mean, I've been trying for I don't know how long. I used to have a whole week. I just spent the whole week teaching tech stuff, and they still didn't get it right. So I try to stay away from that as much as I can.
Well, and you have undergraduate completion students for the most part, and you have them early in their tenure.
Right.
It's not like their final capstone project.
Right. Yeah. If it's graduate students, I would do it what you're saying, because they would get it.
Or just providing some, finding an online tutorial that they can watch over and over, giving them the help desk phone number. It's true. You won't always be able to reach everybody. And there will be some student that just said, I just couldn't do it, so I emailed it to you. It'll happen.
Every semester. It doesn't matter how much time I put into it. There's always the one.
And it's always like, this is a new thing for me. We haven't done a lot of submitting papers like this, but as we do it and students get in their second year, third year, fourth year, they will know how to do it if anyone has had them do it before. So, they'll learn a little bit more about it. So there's lots of different ways that you can use that in Zoom or in Sakai assignments. You can put links to, if you wanted to have like working on a class slideshow or something, you could put the link on your Sakai lessons page. They could all go to it and work on it there.
Good idea.
Your syllabus could be a Google document, and you could link it on the syllabus page with no editors. People would just view it. It's all about your sharing permissions. And then you don't have to download it and upload it, every semester you make one. You update it or something like that. You make a copy of it. But you can store all your files in the cloud. And I'm not saying that storing them in the cloud is better than storing them on your desktop, but it works well when you're swapping devices a lot. It works well when you have to share documents with other people. So if it's just a document for me and I just email it to someone as an attachment, I just leave it on my desktop and use my local file storage. But when it's something I'm going to share over and over with people, like the menu for my lunch co-op, or a list of resources where they can get help with different types of technology, if I ever will want to share that with different people at different times, it goes in the cloud and it lives there, either in my personal Gmail account or in my work Gmail account.
You mean your Google Drive, right? You don't mean.
Yeah, I mean Google Drive. Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Thank you. No,
Thank you.
clarification for sure. I get all these Gmail, GChat, Hangouts, Google Drive, Google Docs Google ducks, Google
I took
geese.
that.
I don't know. They just make up a new one every year. Go ahead, Catherine.
So this document that you get a chat, you shared with us via chat. Okay, so now we're done, and now we have this document. Like where, and then tomorrow I want to access. Oh yeah, that group chat. So, but I
You
don't remember
go-
the link.
You go to your Google Drive. It'll be in there because I've shared it with. Because you have edited it. If you've edited it, it'll be in your Google Drive.
Oh, I did not know that.
You can search for it. So I called this document.
Yeah,
I'll share my screen again. Yeah, that was a good question.
That's it.
Really good question. All right, if I'm back in my Google Drive and you're looking for something right up here, all you have to remember is a couple of words that I typed in it. Class notes on graphic design. Okay.
What?
So I would recommend you save that link.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll stop sharing. You see, it says you edited in the past week. If you have ever edited a file, it should appear in your list here. So I'll stop sharing. If you guys want to minimize Zoom, if you have only one window and you want to do a search of your Google Docs, of your Google Drive, Google Drive is where you documents that you own personally or that have been shared with you live.
Okay, so yeah, because what I end up doing is I keep going to recent, you know, on the left side, because I can't find things if I don't remember the name.
And there's two kinds of sharing. I can share anyone who has the link. So as long as you have that link, you can get into it. But I shared that other document with you personally. Remember, I added your name. The one I added your name to will always be in your Google Drive.
Okay.
The one that I only shared the link, you have to have that link.
That's what I was thinking. You need the link. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends how it was shared. So here it is, last modified. Class notes. It totally depends on how I shared it with you. If you want to be a named member, then I have to share it with you. So maybe for your, up here, for your sanity, it would be best if you shared it with the list of each of your students. So it sticks in their Google Drive versus them have to just remember the link.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And who knows, Google will change that again in 6 months so that either way, if any document you've ever opened will be in there somewhere, but yeah. And that's why you send the notification, because that sends people an email, and that email always has a link to it in it so they can maintain that link.
Okay.
Bonnie, have we solved the problem of students using their personal email and we not having their Antioch.edu email until they're in class?
No, they get an Antioch email when they are moved to student, which means that they have accepted our offer of admissions, they have paid their deposit if there was one, and the registrar has done their little process to move that person. Because let's say they agreed in January, but they're not coming till fall. The move to student process for fall might not happen to June or July. That's when they would get their Antioch email ID and email account.
And are they taught how to forward those emails to their personal email? Could we please do that?
That would be great if we had a department of people who actually trained students, but we don't. It's not AT. IT is in charge of all student support and training.
Who is?
And IT, help desk, information technology. Yeah. So we know that that's an issue. The other problem is every program needs different types of orientation.
45.
So AU Direct, it would be great. everybody gets the same email that says, this is how you log into your AUEID. That's where all of your tools are. There's some tutorials in AU Direct, but I will be totally honest, we do not have a good orientation process as a university because we're so young as a university.
Okay.
Program by program, they orient their own students the way that they need to be oriented.
I think we could probably do a run around IT by just having a list of everybody's home emails. The teachers, if we just had a list of everybody's home emails, so we could
It's
send
a FERPA violation to use them.
What? Don't you send them the announcement that they've been accepted in their home email?
Admissions processes are not covered by FERPA because they're not a student yet. So yeah, it's a FERPA violation to send because we don't know that those are actually individual private accounts. They could be shared with their partner, spouse, child, whatever. And that's why we know that their Antioch accounts are individual accounts. It's the only way that we can guarantee that we are acting in accordance with FERPA.
I just have so many students who, if they could have gotten the information that I send out 2 weeks before class starts, if they could have gotten it 2 weeks before class starts, they would have passed the course. And that certainly is something that we want to encourage.
I think it's a problem, particularly with the 7-week courses, that that sort of thing, that they need 2 weeks before class starts in order to get ready for class to start.
I know that, you know that. We need to get whoever that job is to let them know that. At least we got the 2 weeks. At least we got the classes opened 2 weeks before classes started. That changed.
Well, they're really not always. A week usually.
Well, it's better than an hour before, which is
it is better than an hour before. So, but they are moved to student earlier than that. They're in your class in Sakai earlier than that. You can always email an announcement out of Sakai. It just is not retroactive if someone adds your class after that time when you send it.
They're not opening their .edu emails. That's the problem. It doesn't matter what I do in Sakai. They're not opening it. So it's just crazy making.
I mean, as soon as anybody allows that not to happen, we're just exacerbating the problem. It has to be, this is where, we are legally not allowed to send an email.
I got it. I get the problem. It's something we have to figure out a solution to. So we have.
But they are told in that opening email, you have to correspond with us using your Antioch email. If they don't, and they are not getting their information, that's sort of on them. But it would be good for that, maybe to see if we can get a copy of that initial message and emphasize that.
Yes, good thinking.
And that goes out from IT. So
I have a technical question for you about Google Docs, which is why I'm here. I'm sorry I took up so much time. Should I ask you that separately outside? Okay.
Well, no, yeah, let's see if anybody else has any further questions. And I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes.
Okay.
And if you guys want to lurk and see if Meg has a really interesting question, I encourage you to do so.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question about the table of contents, which is probably the best feature of a Google Doc, in my opinion.
Okay.
For those of you who have not a lot of experience with Google Docs, a table of contents, I have one document that's 400 pages long in Google Docs. And if I didn't have a table of contents, I wouldn't be able, it would be impossible to enjoy. And it's really easy to make, and they're wonderful. My question for you is, if I were to take the information I'm trying to share with students for our new, we have a new virtual writing center person who's in the class, and she made a mess out of all the good work you and I did in that course because she just added more and more information. It's like an encyclopedia. So I'm trying to take that information and just put it in one Google Doc and use a table of contents, kind of like a fax, FAQ. Is that a good idea? Should I create a website? Should I get rid of it all? I don't know what the answer to that question is.
So a Google Doc or a lessons page that just went on and on and on, it's up to you. If you do a Google Doc, then you can allow the virtual writing center person access to update it.
That's what I was thinking.
she can't, unless we make her academic support in your course, she wouldn't have access to update a lessons page. And you know that the table of contents is also created automatically if you use headings.
Yes, that's why I love it.
Yeah.
It's like the
So-
best part of a Google Doc, in my opinion, when you, if you're loquacious.
And, a Word document can do it too. You just have to turn it on.
I don't use anything Microsoft. I'm anti-Microsoft.
So over here, Wendy, this is a table of contents. And because this is a heading 1 and this is a heading 2, it automatically creates links to those sections in this table of contents over here on the side. And you can just hide it, minimize it, but it's always there when you create a new document. If you use the headings and you like new pages, you mark headings and things like that. So that's one of the good reasons for using these styles of title, subtitle, heading, subheadings, you know, those sorts of things.
Bonnie, show her also, go underneath the class notes on graphic design and insert a table of contents so that it becomes, you see down all the way at the bottom? Yeah, insert a table of contents either direction. And it's so nice. You can see it tells you what page it's on. I mean, it does all the work for you. I prefer the one that has the links, which I think is the second version of the table of contents. But either way, I mean, I've been using that and loving it more as the more I use it. My question, okay, so you've answered my question. So I'm just gonna, that way, if I make it a doc, I can share it with whoever, because it's not gonna be the same person who wrote the previous stuff. And I wanna be collegial. I wanna make sure that I am opening up. I mean, I can't believe I let anyone touch the course after all the work you and I put into it, but I'm a nice guy. Anyway, so she put in a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna just copy and paste it all into a Google Doc and let that be their fiefdom, as it were. And I'll just put a link in forums under the description so that the topics will be open, so students will feel free to ask anything they want. She didn't understand when she was creating all of those forum topics. Oh my God, I got a headache and I know what I'm doing. I mean, the students didn't understand it, and that's okay. I mean, it was the first time.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna stop the recording.
So you know what's going on. I had a